Here we are again back in the naughty corner for a really quick follow-up to the discussion I put on here about narcissism and NPD. Just want to make it clear what the point was. The point's not to excuse bad behavior, and it's certainly not to refuse to see something like narcissistic abuse, because narcissistic abuse is a crazy making like nearly nothing else on earth, right? And trauma bonding is real, and to then get away and to build your life up is difficult, and I never want to undermine these things. What I was meaning was abuse isn't a group that contains a subset narcissism wholly, right? When narcissists abuse, it's a dreadful thing, and it's very insidious, and it can be so discombobulating and so traumatizing, okay? But not every narcissist abuses, or at least not every narcissist goes out of their way to abuse people in their life, whether it's a partner, whether it's colleagues or subordinates, whether it's family members, etc., right? I just want to make that clear. I'm not taking narcissists out of the abuser group, but they shouldn't all be lumped in there. When we call people a narcissist, it shouldn't just be a way of naming someone who has traits that you don't like, or who's done things that you don't like and don't respect. It doesn't mean it's part of a narcissistic abuse cycle. It doesn't mean that it is a symptom of a person having narcissistic abuse. Yeah. Yes, it seems that a lot of humanimals have experienced firsthand the particular flavour of abuse that narcissists can dole out. And this might be it's usually through a lack of, it might be sometimes through a lack of self-awareness. It could be purposeful. It could be just that you're a thing and that they've been manipulating and using you just for their own reasons, you know. As long as it's benefiting them, they're going to do it. Sure. So it seems like a lot of humanimals understand exactly what it's like. And I think we need to acknowledge that, you know, in a way, for what it is. It is something very specific, and it causes a very specific type of trauma that people have to get, work through. And it can take years. You can be left with PTSD. You can be suffering in other ways, you know, in many ways, because your esteem has plummeted, you know, because every ounce of it might have been, you know, pillaged from you over time by the narcissist. Of course, there are plenty of people living with narcissistic personality disorder that do have relationships. Perhaps they live as serial monogamists, you know, perhaps relationships begin and end, but they can have relationships. And the best way for a person to survive intact being in a relationship with a narcissist, if they choose to be with a narcissist, is to be very independent, to be running your own show, and to not have your life depending on the decisions of the narcissist. You're not waiting for them to you know, oil any machines of life to make statements about what's done and what isn't, and they shouldn't have any effect on things like, obviously your mental health, but, your physical well-being, where you live, how you live. You need to be able to be very independent and to be able to decide what you need and want in life, and to just go ahead and achieve it, or make the decisions, just make choices about the way you want to live, where you want to live, how you want to live, that aren't dependent upon the narcissist. And then I think, I'm sure there's lots of people that come to, sorry about the lighting, come to quite happy, reasonable arrangements, But a relationship with narcissists, it's just, they're not for everybody. And sometimes they can end in devastating ways. And you shouldn't be making allowances for them. Don't learn a few things about them and think, oh gosh, they had quite a lot of trauma in their upbringing, or, they had a lovely upbringing, but they had such an environment where they were always, maybe pushed and pulled between parents. Maybe were just so mollycoddled, but then had very high standards to reach, whatever it is that's created them. It's not excuses. You've just got to be strong. You've just got to decide whether you want to go for it or not. And if you decide to leave, you've got to actually just do it before they destroy you. But the other point that I was trying to make in my other video, so, not all narcissists are abusive, right? And the other point is that, look, and everybody's got a little sprinkle of narcissism. We all do. This is fact, okay? It's just to whatever degree. But, I'm talking here about diagnosed people diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. I think if they don't have this insight, if they don't have this self-awareness, maybe, it's undiagnosed people who aren't receiving perhaps some cognitive behavior therapy, or just some sort of counseling to understand themselves and how they operate. And, it might be the undiagnosed people that are the more likely to be the abusers. But just personally, and I don't know this, but just personally, I feel like the people doing most damage, it's complicated. It's more complicated than a singular diagnosis of narcissistic personality disorder. I think there are other things happening. And, they become most dangerous when whatever else is going on is creating thought patterns where the choices they make are extremely harmful. Because when they're going to hurt you, they're not going to care. They might care if it has an outcome not beneficial to them, but most of the time they're hurting you because they can, and it gets them something. Maybe you back down. Maybe you stop being so easy to control, and this is going to send them into a spiral, and the abuse might get worse. It's such a conundrum. And a lot of the time you won't know you're in it until you're really invested. It should go without saying, people should take time to get to know people that they're going to be in a relationship with, and don't give themselves away so easily. I can say this because I am a woman. I guess I wouldn't want to hear it from a man, but women have this terrible, terrible habit of making excuses for their partners, for men. So women might be talking about, let's say there's a group of women together and one of them's just started dating a person. They will make every excuse under the sun for this person's bad behavior. I'm not saying this is a narcissist or something. Or they don't stop and think about why someone is so involved in their life and so invested them after only 2 weeks of knowing them, for example. Both of these things are super dangerous. And, if you're making excuse for bad behavior, or, the why maybe someone might be using you, for example, maybe they've gone around, they've dated this person, they've taken them out, spent a little time, and then they're not available for a week, Oh, he's scared of commitment. Oh, he's just been so hurt in the past that he's just so afraid of commitment. No, girlfriend. And as soon as he meets someone he wants to be with them, he'll just be with them like that. Maybe he's just not into you, like the book says. But that rushing of a relationship too, that quickly wanting to move things along, it's very controlling, and it's usually indicative of someone who does have some serious personality issues, sometimes possibly, yes, BPD. And this is dangerous because it's kind of a relationship centered on control and ownership, and often violence. I'm not saying that there aren't these great romances where people just click and that's it and you just know, sure. But I think people know what I'm talking about. It's the men that, you are the best thing since sliced bread. They've known you a week and they are so overtly romantic, ingratiating. They want to see you all the time. They want to intoxicate you with their adoration of you, with their admiration for you. Don't fall for it, ladies, because that's a road paved with sometimes your blood and broken bones. You'll be isolated from everything in your life that gave you safety and happiness, and you will be in the clutches of somebody that wants to own you. Anyway, how did I get onto that? It's just things that I notice over the years, the excuses that we make when we're getting into relationships, that we're overthinking what is plainly just being shown to us by people's behavior. We want to make excuses for it. What is it in us that allows this? And, this is not always people with any sort of deficit that might create someone so desperately needing to make everything and anything work. But these predators are looking for a specific type of person, a specific type of characteristics that will allow them to do what they want, and they will test this, right? They will test you, and they want to know. And sometimes, yep, they'll know pretty soon how far they can go. Yeah. So yes, narcissistic personality disorder is becoming more prevalent in this world. Isn't that crazy? But is it something that should make us very fearful? Well, it should make us aware of what we need in a relationship, what we want, what we will accept and not accept. And if we keep in mind our values, then when you're getting to know someone, if there's no reflection of your values coming from them, well, you should be able to leave before you are enmeshed and meshed and tangled, right? And move on. And hopefully that way you have someone that, perhaps mirrors the empathy that you need from a person or the respect that you need from a person. It doesn't mean that a narcissistic person is not going to be able to respect you or understand that you have goals in life of your own or needs in life on many levels. It's not that at all. Yeah. But yes, it just seems to be the rise of the narcissist, doesn't it? And learning how to spot someone who is this way and whether they're dangerous to you or not is a valuable skill. Just like it's a valuable skill to recognize anyone that has the potential to be abusive. Okay, so not all narcissists are going to try to hurt you, but narcissistic abuse is certainly serious, and it occurs, the relationship with them, it becomes this trauma bonded relationship, and these are very damaging. But it's not only with narcissists that you will get these negative outcomes, right? So that's all. I just think we shouldn't use these terms in a blanket way, in a generalized way. It's funny because I was just watching a chat room go by. I think it was, might have been on Unmasked. And there was a person in there that just was commenting just all these one-liners about narcissists and how they have no feelings and things like this. And I thought, this person is just spreading complete and utter garbage. Narcissists have a lot of feelings. They can suffer from having a lot of feelings. They can be very negative feelings. It might not be for the same reasons that you get upset or feel hurt or feel scared. But they have very dark times in their life because of the emotional roller coaster they can be on. And it's funny, isn't it? Because we talk about, our empathy and the empathy that they don't have, yet somehow we don't muster empathy for people that have all these very complicated, devastating feelings as a narcissist. Just by the very definition of being a narcissist, it can send these persons into some really deep, dark places, spiraling down out of control. And this isn't an excuse. It's not an excuse for it. I think it's just accepting that there are people in the world that operate this way, that are maybe just able to be more selfish to get what they want. And sometimes that's what you recognize it as. You think, wow, they're just self promoting, aren't they? Or, oh, they didn't, they have this kind of strength to them to just do or not do things that are good for them, right? And sometimes a lot of people could even learn from that to become a little bit more, like a little bit less, if you're spreading yourself too thin or something and you feel like you can't say no, well, maybe there's a little lesson there to learn to protect yourself a little bit from being tired and overly utilized, and that creating a deficit in your life somehow and a frustration or an exhaustion or a feeling of being taken for granted. Well, maybe something to be said for being a little bit narcissistic, if it could be thought of as a type of selfishness, What was I saying? But, we've got to accept that people in this world with us, they have all these differences. We're all human. They have different levels of morals, values, ethics, I guess. And you just got to find your people. And you need to accept that some people in your life are going to be narcissistic, just as some people that you meet in life are going to have depression or anxiety or bipolar or, a physical condition, asthma, brain damage, diabetes. There's all these negotiations every day we have to do with the world. There's all the mental gymnastics we have to do every day with the world to sort of, negotiate our way through life with all the different people that we are in contact with. And the majority of them aren't going to hurt you, and particularly if you don't give them the power to. So recognizing the ones that can hurt you, sometimes it can be difficult, particularly if they are using an openness or naivety in you or a neediness against you, right? Various people will target subsets of people because they know they've got more chance of abusing them. Rapists might look for the untidy yard with lots of kids' toys and things, and they might think, well, there's a single mother there, she's not coping, there's no man there. That's how they might pick, which house to break into. And there's all these other things that, it would be great, wouldn't it, to have lessons from people. What do they look for? How do they operate in the world? And what sort of vulnerabilities attract them? And when do they know that they've got someone or that this person will do whatever they want, to the detriment of their own lives and that sometimes of their children. If you're talking about people that are predated upon because, maybe they're vulnerable, they've come out of a relationship, they've got young children. Many people in that situation will make the decision that they're not going to just date and bring men in one door and out the other of their home because it's a danger to their children. And they decide they're not going to have a relationship themselves until they're older, but lots of children are older. And then many people, it's their own choice, isn't it? Decide that they don't want to be on their own. They want companionship or a partnership or help in some way. And it can lead to a series of really poor decisions, let alone just one or two poor decisions. And they need to know that they are looked upon as prey. So you need to not look and act like a victim and just be a little bit wary. Just be a little bit wary, which means just take your time and stop and assess things properly without the gaggle of girlfriends going, oh, he's just been hurt in the past, or oh no, he is head over heels for you. He is, you have to go. You have to go on that weekend away. I know you've only known him 3 weeks, but oh my gosh, so romantic. I wish Gerald was like that. If he brought me flowers to work every day at 5 o'clock, maybe the guy just wants to make sure that, he knows what you're doing and who you're with, right? Is it romantic? Does he want to be with you? Or does he want to make sure you're not with anyone else and that you're choosing him? Yeah. Just try and always look at the flip side and see what makes sense. And golly gosh, there you go. This was going to be another 5-minute just saying. There's 26 minutes and 16 seconds. Sorry I think I had a gurgly tummy. I'm going to crack on. And yeah, I hope you do understand what I've been trying to say just in these videos. It's not about making excuses. It's not about saying that one group or another group is always forgiven or is not abusive or is always abusive. Sorry, I'm rambling now, but I hope you understand what I'm saying, because narcissism is on the rise, and yet for all the information that seems to be out there, there still seems to be just so much misunderstanding when people are commenting and about things, and I feel like they haven't stopped to try to learn about what it is that they are shooting off about. And of course, I am no expert. I am not qualified to break this down for you. I am just giving you a lay person's perspective on a few things. Okay, I will speak to you later.